Alright gamers, we're back with the Druid video. So, what just happened, I was rambling to myself for half an hour without having recording enabled. So, when I noticed, I wasn't very happy about that. But, anyways, wait, why do I have so many runes of Essential? What the hell? Oh yeah, because I pressed it. Okay, never mind. I was rambling for half an hour. But, with that being said, I have some insights, since I'm a feral druid one-trick. So if you're interested in feral, if you're a fellow cat core bro, you're definitely in a treat. If not, then, well, maybe I can invite you to try feral for once, because it's very fun. Anyways, let us start. As per usual, we have blue rare quality mystic enchants. Those are available from your vendors. First one starts at level 10. Then you get one at 45. But in the meantime, you also get epic quality 15, 25 and 40. And level 30 you get legendary. And at level 35 you also get choice of artifact quality. Those you have to go out in the world, find them, obtain them. They usually have a small little, not a quest line, but like a RP event in the world. It's pretty cool stuff. So, as per usual, we're gonna start with the artifact quality. Druids have choice of 4 right here. And all of them are bangers. All of them are very useful. So it's gonna be tough choice, but you have to adapt to your encounter, right? And the content that you're doing. So, first off, Ursol's Vortex. This one comes in later expansions. If you're aware, maybe not. It's a thing that you place on the floor. And everything that tries to escape that zone will get pulled back. Similar to like a death grip, but from the inside of the vortex. It's very powerful for a couple things. It's pretty powerful for PvP. Let's say you're hugging the pillar, you drop that bad boy down, and nobody can chase you. It's pretty good in PvE as well, in dungeons. It can save your tank. It can do a bunch of different things, you know. Second one, Mass Entanglement, also great ability. Roots literally everything in place for 8 seconds. The root may be broken, but let's say in a situation where your tank dies for whatever reason, and you need to combat res him real fast, but you're in the middle of the heat of the pack, and they start attacking you, you can instantly run away, mass entangle, keep them in spot, do your combat res, pick your tank up, refresh, reset, and go back to doing stuff. What usually happens when you play like a druid, your tank dies, and immediately all of the monsters that were attacking the tank instantly switch to you as a feral, because you have high threat as a melee character, right? And you do a lot of crits. So they instantly switch to you, and you die as well. But this gives you a chance to reset. It's also has a billion different uses, I guess, but you can get creative with this one, right? Stampeding Roar. This is a banger. Everybody loves this spell. It's a raid wide. Everybody close to you gets a sprint effect for 6 seconds, 60% sprint. However, here I see it says only party members, which I didn't notice before. In retail, this applies to raid members, so everybody in your raid gets a buff. Interesting. Maybe that's their way of balancing it. But still, if you're in a party, you need to move out from the dangerous spot fast, or you need to reposition fast. You slam that in, you get the sprint, and you continue, right? Cool. Solar Beam. 1 minute cooldown, extremely powerful ability. You place it down on the floor. It's a small circle, and anything under beam cannot cast abilities. They're all silenced. Extremely powerful in PvE, extremely powerful in PvP as well, because silence is very often just straight up death sentence for casters, for healers specifically. If you kidney somebody under solar beam, it's basically GG. They cannot use their defensives. They cannot shield themselves. They cannot use the instant casts. Extremely powerful ability. The fact that it's available to a feral druid as well might be straight up broken, in my opinion. It straight up might be broken. Like, what you're gonna do? You're a priest, right? You cannot trinket it, as far as I'm aware, because you instantly get silenced again. So, you know, it is what it is. It has only 1 minute cooldown. It also works extremely well in PvE. Let's say you have a dangerous group of monsters, right? You pull all of them, including a bunch of casters, right? If your group doesn't have your interrupts on point, right? You plop down that solar beam, every caster gets silenced, and you just burst them out down, and everybody is safe. What happens in the high Mythic Plus keys, sometimes you miss a single interrupt and you die. And this is another layer of protection against that. Efflorescence. This is a AoE spell that you place on the floor. It restores a little bit of health to everybody and increases... Oh, sorry, not everybody, just 5 allies, is it? No, it applies rejuvenation to 5 targets, heals everybody for a little bit, small amount, and also increases the healing taken for everybody for 15%. It's low-key like a raid cooldown, right? Because having that much healing taken increase, especially if you're stacked up under, let's say, priest barrier under the dome, it's a really nice raid cooldown in a sense. Feral Mastery, Guardian Mastery, Restoration Mastery, Balance Mastery. Those all make you a little bit better at what you normally do. Feral, more rip and ferocious damage, ferocious bite damage, and critical strike damage. Solid effect. Guardian one increases your max health by 3%, which is multiplicative with other effects, I believe. Increases your crit by 3%, a little bit more crit, gives you a little bit more survivability thanks to Savage Defense. Resto Mastery increases effectiveness of your healing over time. Almost everything Restoration Druid does is healing over time, so, and increases your mana efficiency a bit on 3 spells. Balance Mastery. Eclipse Lunar increases spell damage done. Eclipse Solar increases crit by 4%. So I'm not a big balance enjoyer. I never really played it, so cannot comment too much on how powerful that is. But it's just a generic effect, right? Iron 4. This is your active mitigation spell, basically. It allows you to choose how much you want to invest into damage reduction at this given moment. You can use it 3 times quickly in a row and get decent, I think it's like adds up to 16 or 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds, or you can spread it out a couple times, so it's a smaller reduction but with higher uptime. Carnage Incarnate, this is the first interesting one. It's 45-second cooldown, basically AoE damage over time on you as a bear. Deals physical damage, reduces phys damage taken, and heals you a little bit, and lasts for 8 seconds. Basically, you pop that bad boy in the middle of a big pack of monsters and you do massive damage, you take less damage, and you deal damage, right? Cool. Sunfire. This is a pretty standard spell, you've probably seen it before. It deals damage over time to enemy, a little bit of direct damage, and it also spreads to additional targets within 8 yards. That damage over time can critically strike. So if you want to multi-dot, this is definitely one of the spells. Nature's Fervor. When you fully apply Lacerate to an enemy, you gain Nature's Favor. Lacerate stacks up to 3 times, I believe, on this server. So when you use it 3 times in a row, well, not specifically in a row, when you stack it up to 3, you get a bonus, and you can choose what do you spend it on. You can spend it on Big Mangle, you can spend it on Fairy Fire, that will reduce the damage taken by 5%. It lasts for only 4 seconds though, that damage reduction, so I'm not sure if it's worth it to use it that way. Your next Lacerate deals 75% increased direct damage, so the instant damage that it does, and 100% increased threat. Well, this one is interesting because let's say you have, I'm not sure if the increased threat deals applies to the damage over time of the Lacerate, because if yes, that could be quite interesting, but if not, then a little bit weird, right? Okay. Overflow. Nourish or Regrowth reduces the cast time and mana cost of your next healing touch by 10%, stacking up to 3. And when fully stacked to 3, your next healing touch overflows, healing 3 allies within 8 yards for 30% of an amount, and guaranteed to trigger a Seed of Life. Well, so if you keep casting Nourishes or Regrowth on tanks or other allies, then slamming Healing Touch, which is your big healing ability, is gonna spread out to a couple more allies. I believe it's a smart heal, it should be pretty okay. D-Range Druid, this one is funny. Basically, whenever you use ability, you have a small chance of using another ability for free. This one works in a way that, for example, if you're in a cat form, you're gonna use cat form abilities. If you're in a bear form, it's gonna use bear form abilities. And the result of that is that sometimes you're in a cat form and you have this on, and it sometimes pops Tiger's Fury for you, without consuming cooldown, mind you. It can pop Bark Skin on you, also without consuming cooldown. Or, for example, on the Bear Druid, you just swipe, right, and you get Bark Skin for free. Pretty cool, right? The only problem is it's not very reliable. It can also proc things like Frenzied Region, which is a long cooldown, I believe. And you know, you're just chilling on the bear, you're just swiping, and Frenzied Region pops for free, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll just stand here and swipe, right? So it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. I used it a lot. Another funny effect of that is like you can stand still as a cat and keep shredding your target, right? And suddenly it procs Prowl in the middle of combat. It turns you invisible. And then you're like, wait, what happens to my action bar? And you find out that you're prowling. So you can use Ravage, you can use Pounce. So, pretty fun effects. Predator Wrathful Strikes. Your finishing moves has 20% chance per combo point spent to grant you Wrathful Strikes. And Wrathful Strikes makes your Wrath be castable in cat form, instant, and deals additional damage equal to attack power. 20% of your attack power. So this was one of those enchants that was supposed to make cats able to cast Wraths, to like bake it into rotation. But there's a couple problems with it. Specifically, Wrath needs spell hit, and Cat's special abilities only need like 8% of hit or something like that. So nobody's gonna gear for additional 8% just to make your Wrath connect, which kind of sucks. And we have been discussing this with developers on Discord, but apparently they didn't want to change it for now. Maybe in the future. Flow of Life transforms Tranquility into Flow of Life. Heals 5 lowest health nearby party or raid members for 351 every 2 seconds for 12 seconds, and restores 2 seconds of active heal over time effects on allies healed. Now, I am not sure how this works, because there's 2 ways this could work. For example, let's say you have a target that has 8 seconds of regrowth remaining, right? You slam the Flow of Life, and now he gets healed and should restore 2 seconds of the regrowth, right? So it goes from 8 to 10. That's pretty simple to understand. But does the damage healing over time effect also restore the other heals? Because if the healing over time also restores the healing over time, then it's pretty good. But I don't know if it works that way. Hard to say. I would need to ask some restoration druid that plays a lot. Touch of a Loon. Place Touch of a Loon on an enemy for next 15 seconds. All damage dealt by your Wrath, Starfire, Star Surge to other targets will also damage the enemy marked by your Touch of a Loon. So basically, let's say I'm a druid and I place Touch of a Loon on that boar here, right? He has the debuff for 15 seconds. And I would Star Surge, Wrath or Starfire this boar. Well, this boar would also get hit. Basically doubling your damage output for a couple seconds. Which might be interesting. It's somewhat similar to what Warlocks have later on, the Havoc thing, where you copy Chaos Boss. Pretty interesting effect. Incarnation, King of the Jungle. 1 minute cooldown. And it says your cat form is empowered for 15 seconds. Mangle and Shred causes additional swiping attack, dealing damage to enemies within 5 yards. And Ferocious Bite extends Rip to its full duration. Well, this one was very interesting to me at first. I wanted to test it out, see what it does. But it turned out a little bit worse than I thought it was. Because, first off, the swiping attack that it says on every shred, it deals around half of the damage that a regular swipe would do. Which is not the end of the world, because for example, let's imagine you have a very beefy target in the middle of a pack of enemies in Mythic Plus, right? And you want to prioritize the beefy target while the other things die to cleave. That's fine, right? It's 15 seconds, 1 minute cooldown, pretty decent button. But the second part of it is Ferocious Bite extends Rip to its full duration, which is only active when the Incarnation is active. It's not a passive effect. So that means you can shred and bite, shred and bite, shred and bite without refreshing your Rip manually. Which is cool, but if it was a passive effect that works at all times, that would mean we could snapshot massive rips. But unfortunately, it's not how it works. Rip, fully invested in, can get to like 24 seconds Glyph of Shred, Glyph of Rip, and it gets to like 24 seconds full duration. So yeah. In theory, let's say you pop Incarn, right? Let's say you pop Incarn. And you have 15 seconds of it. At the last second of Incarn you bite. That refreshes your Rip to full. 24 seconds, right? And you have still left a couple seconds on the timer. You will have 45 seconds of Incarn cooldown left. Minus 24. That's 21 seconds left. You would still have to manually rip once more. Which I don't think it's worth that much. It's just a small bonus on top of it, but not a big of a deal. Maybe it gets buffed in the future, that would be really good. But for now, it's like, it's something. Feral Frenzy. You might be familiar with this one. It was on the game since Warlords of Draenor or something like that. Unleash a Furious Frenzy, clawing your target 5 times over 1.5 seconds for 50% weapon damage and applying a bleed, which stacks up to 5 times and lasts for 10 seconds. Awards 1 combo point. Apparently this one is now highest performing single target DPS enchant for Ferals. It has a pretty high uptime because it's only 25 seconds cooldown, unlike on the retail where it's like 45 seconds. But it only awards 1 combo point, not 5 like on retail. That's a mixed bag. But I would assume it's pretty powerful for PvP as well, because you can just press it whenever, right? Fury Unleashed. While Tiger's Fury is active, any reap you apply will grant 6 energy every time it deals damage, and the energy cost of Ferocious Bite is reduced by 15%. Well, this one is interesting, definitely. It's not the strongest effect ever, but while Tiger's Fury is active, which is like 6-second window, you can apply a rip or 2 even. You can apply like full 5 combo point rip, right? Press single shred and then apply a 1 combo point rip to something. And both of those rips will grant you 6 energy every time they tick. The problem with this is, like I said, the maximum invested time on rip is 24 seconds, but that's only with Glyph of Shred. So you have to keep shredding those 2 targets. Maybe if you're very smart with your gameplay, and you rip at the last second of Tiger's Fury, while your cooldown is recovering, you could get permanent uptime on that rip, giving you energy. But it would be very tight rotation. Like, straight up seconds. Half of a second mattering, so the moment you lose uptime, you lose value from this. And it also reduces cost of Ferocious Bite by 15%, 15 energy. So pretty cool. I might play with it a little bit more on release. Celestial Power. Well, this one is weird. It basically Starfire applies Starfire on targets not affected by Moonfire. This effect does not stack with Moonfire. But your Wrath applies Nature's Wrath on targets not affected by your Insect Swarm. This does not stack with Insect Swarm. So this enchant basically wants you to not use your damage over time effects like Insect Swarm and Moonfire. Instead, if you use those direct hitting abilities like Starfire and Star Surge, it gives you a bonus to them, which might add up to quite nasty nukes that you throw out. Like Star Surging, 5% stacking up to 3 times, right? And on the another one, it also Star Surge for 5%, so it's 2 times 15. It's quite a lot of damage, I think. There's also another enchant that supports this a little bit further, but that comes later. Chosen of Elune. Resets the cooldown of Star Surge, reduces its cooldown by 50% for 15 seconds, also activates both Lunar and Solar Eclipse. Does not incur a cooldown on Eclipse effects. So this is your burst DPS cooldown. You slam it and you spam Star Surges, you destroy everything. Those chickens are eating good, man. Guardians of the Grove. Your Treants now heal allies below 90% health using Rejuvenation and Regrowth, but no longer deals damage and their health is reduced by 50%. Well, this one turns your Treants from like a tanking and a little bit of damage button to actually healing button. The problem is, do Resto Force of Nature. Now this is like very high into balanced Druid, right? This is only available to a balanced Druid. Resto cannot get it. Interesting. Spirit of the Forest. Imbues with Spirit of the Forest for 20 seconds, reducing cooldown of Wild Growth, mana cost of Light Bloom by 50%, and causes Rejuve to also instantly heal your ally for 6. So, nice, another throughput cooldown for Druids. Reducing cooldown of Wild Growth definitely is pretty solid. I think it's a smart heal, so if you spam those, your entire raid will be covered by Wild Growths, which is nice. I'm not sure about the other part of this, if that's any good, but maybe some Druid can, some Resto Druid main can tune in and explain if it's good or not. Nature Synthesis increases healing done of Healing Touch and Nourish by 7% for each healing overtime effect you have active on the target. So basically almost everything that Resto Druid does is healing over time, right? So you will have 3 or 4 or 5 even effects on the target. Maybe it counts procs from trinkets, weapons, maybe, I don't know. So your healing touches and your nourishes would heal for quite a lot. Languish. Your Starfire, Wrath and Star Surge critical strikes causes the target to take additional 8% of your spell damage over 4 seconds. So like I said before, where was it? Here. You now, with this one, you have those very hard hitting Star Surges, right? And then on top of that you have they deal damage over time that stacks on top of each other, like somewhat similar to Ignite from Fire Mage, right? Might be interesting. Symbiotic Nature. The healing of Regrowth is increased by 15% on targets affected by Rejuvenation. And vice versa. Basically, Regrowth helps Rejuve make it better, and Rejuve makes the Regrowth better by 15%. Very cool, especially nice if you're like have both of those effects on your tank, right? Nature's Abundance reduces mana cost of Healing Touch by 12%. When you periodically heal with Rejuvenation or Regrowth, it restores 3% of your base mana. This effect can only occur every second, so you cannot cover entire raid and recover entire mana in 2 seconds, but it's still something. Those small ticks of mana gained, they add up quite fast. 3% of base mana is not that much, but it's definitely something. Ferocious Clarity increases damage of Maul by 10%. In addition, increases damage of Claw, Mangle by 10% or targets affected by a Rake. And if you kill something that yields experience, you trigger Omen of Clarity. Now there's 2 problems with this one. First one, this one increases damage of Claw, and if you're a Feral Druid main, you know that Claw deals 0 damage. You should never press that button. And Mangle is okay, I guess, but it supposedly gives you Omen of Clarity. The problem with it, I don't know if it triggers if you don't have Omen of Clarity unlocked as a talent. I would assume it does, but I didn't test it myself, so I don't know. Also, regarding Claw and Mangle and Shred in Bronzebeard and Cat form, Shred available at level 22 here. It says it must be behind the target, right? But on Bronzebeard you can do this. You can do this. Target enemy. You walk inside of this model and you spam left and right and Shred at the same time. And it will hit, it will connect sometimes. Not always, but it will. So that's how you abuse Shred on Bronzebeard. And you never have to press Claw again. There is a chance that some bosses will be there that you can only hit in the face, right? For example, in Cataclysm there was this worm boss that you can only hit from the front. Or in Wrath of the Lich King, Kologarn was a good example. You cannot backstab Kologarn. So in that case you spam Mangle instead. You never press Claw. Pressing Claw is ending, don't do that. Right? Okay. Predator's Wrath, Focus. Casting Wrath restores 15 energy. This is more support for this, but like I explained before, it's not that good at the moment. Elion's Fury. Moonfire hits additional target and grants 3% haste for 12 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. This is pretty nice for multi-dotting. You can get into like early level dungeon when you don't have Hurricane, when you don't have those things yet. You Moonfire everything and you just chill, right? Moonfire is pretty expensive on mana cost, so basically you reduce the mana cost of Moonfire by half with this. And it gives you some haste, which is nice. Predator's Wrath combo. Casting Wrath awards 2 combo points. Same deal as this one. And this one. It's supposed to have, with those trifecta of those enchants, is supposed to support the playstyle of Casting Wrath in the cat form. But it's not that good at the moment. There is one use case that could be funny though. And that is playing Resto or Balanced Druid in PvP, in Arena. Because if you cast Wrath in caster form, or a chicken form, right? It gives you 2 combo points. You cast it 2-3 times, you have full combo points now. You turn into a cat, and you maim enemy healer. It's a kidney shot. Normally it's not possible. Normally you would need to build the combo points as a chicken, which nobody does, because the moment you get caught out of the chicken or bear farm, you're dead. But with this, you could be casting those Wraths, just passive, no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. You get the trinket proc, turn to cat, you maim, and then you Star Surge his ass 2 times and he's fucking dead. Just a theory, something for you to maybe play around with. Could be fun, could be terrible. Just exercise in my fantasy, you know? Ursoc Rage. Using Maul, Swipe, Mangle, or Lacerate reduces the cooldown of Enrage by 1.5 seconds. Enrage also increases your melee critical strike by 10%. Well, this one is actually pretty powerful, and I'll tell you why. Enrage, by default, Enrage has a 1 minute cooldown, right? Here, with the King of the Jungle, using Enrage gives you a straight up damage buff, 15% I believe, right? And every time you swipe and maul or mangle or lacerate, all of those abilities, they're very fast, they're very spammable. You reduce the cooldown of Enrage by 1.5 seconds. On top of that, maul is off GCD. So basically every melee swing, if you have a lot of rage, every melee swing, every swipe, people will usually combo macro the swipe and maul together to have more damage output. That will make your Enrage very low cooldown actually. Not only Enrage gives you more rage back, it also buffs you significantly. 10% from this enchant, 10% crit, 15% from the talent, right? The small downside is Enrage reduces your armor by a little bit. It's not a big deal, it's like base armor. So this one could be very powerful. Counterpoise. This is a special enchant. Why? Because this one is not class specific. You can use this on Arms Warrior, you can use this on a Bear Druid, and it has a small effect. It's not nothing special, right? But while above 50% rage you gain 5% melee haste, while below 50% rage you gain more crit. In my opinion it's a little bit undertuned. It could be a little bit higher to make it more interesting, but maybe there's use for it. Maybe somebody wants those stats. Fairy's Favor. Using Fairy Fire Feral generates 20 energy and rage. This one is very good. You get it for free, I believe, when you hit level 15. NPC will give it to you. And it's pretty good on both bear and both on cat as well. On-demand energy generation is very good. On-demand rage generation is very good. And this one pretty much stayed locked in with my feral at all levels. I never changed out of it. Flourishing Nature. Using Healing Touch or Nourish on an ally increases the healing taken from your healing over time effects by 20% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. Well, so basically if you have a tank that's taking heavy damage and you're spamming Healing Touch or Nourish, all the healing effects over time, this could include trinkets, this could include I don't know what else, 40% bigger, which is quite a lot of healing. All the life blooms, all the stuff like that. Sounds good. It's a little bit of triage healing, which I'm not sure Resto wants to do ever. It definitely heals them in that situation. Helps them. Astral Alignment. Casting Moonfire, Starfire or Star Surge on an enemy increases damage they take from your wrath by 10% for 10 seconds. Casting Wrath on affected target restores base mana. Basically makes your wrath a little bit better and makes it free to cast. 5% base mana. I'm not sure what's the base mana cost on Wrath, but I wouldn't imagine it's way more expensive than that. Moon's Wrath. Your Wrath and Star Surge have 6% increased crit chance on targets affected by your Moonfire. Once again, makes your Star Surges hit critically more often. You pretty much always have Moonfire active on the target, right? Frenzied Slashing. Using Swipe Bear or Trash increases your attack speed by 20% for 12 seconds. This can only affect once every 10 seconds. Well, this one is pretty cool because I was thinking about using this as a cat form. Swipe on a bear, turn to cat, and then enjoy the 20% melee haste, which melee haste is actually not that bad for feral because more melee attacks makes more Omen of Clarity procs, but it requires you to change back and forth from bear to cat, bear and cat, and you already have a lot of things to take care of in a cat form, so it adds up the complexity of play, and if you mess up you lose damage, so yeah. Omen of Doom. Gaining Omen of Clarity increases your arcane and nature damage done by 10% for 6 seconds. Well, pretty self-explanatory. You gain a Omen of Clarity, your damage increases. Simple, right? Clarity of the Mind. Your Omen of Clarity talent has additional 5% chance to trigger. This one is pretty good. I was using it a lot. Omen of Clarity has an unspecified amount of chance to proc when you're in cat form or whatever, but having additional 5% from your auto attacks, which happen really fast in cat form, it's like every second base, pretty good. So, and more Omen of Clarity procs is more energy, more swipes, more shreds, more everything, right? Very nice. Primal Frenzy. Dealing damage with Rip and Rake has a 15% chance to empower you, increases damage done by 5%. Pretty simple effect, nothing special here. Just a small 5% buff for 6 seconds randomly. I wouldn't ever use this. It would be more interesting if it was like 30% for 3 seconds. Then I could snapshot massive rakes or something with it. That would be fun. But in this form I would never use this. Omen of Fatality. Consuming Omen of Clarity with a cat form ability increases crit strike chance of your bear form abilities by 12% for 18 seconds. On the other hand, using Omen of Clarity with a bear form ability increases the damage of your cat form abilities by 8% for 18 seconds. Well, this is your bear weaving wet dream. Is it wet though? I don't think it is. It's kind of dry. 8% total damage done is a big effect. It's a big effect, I can't lie. but there's a problem with it. You have to consume Omen of Clarity, right? In the bear form for that. So that assumes you're in a cat form, you have Omen of Clarity, you have to turn into bear, and then you have to maul, swipe, whatever. And then you get the bonus. But instead, you could spend that Omen of Clarity on shredding ones. And now, which one is better? Well, 8% for 18 seconds sounds pretty good. But I guess somebody would need to sim it, like straight up. Graceful Resurgence increases the damage of Wrath, Starfire, and Star Surge on targets below. 35% health by 10%. This is your little execute effect. And also gives you a bunch of haste whenever you kill something. But it's only 3 seconds. It's not like you're gonna snipe a lot of dead people. Almost dead people with it. I'm not sure if that's too good. Especially on Boomkin when you have to make those slow casts. Maybe not. Your Maul ability refreshes the duration of Rake on your target. This is pretty cool, like when you're early level, when you just gotten your cat form and you have bear form as well. You can switch back and forth and refresh those rakes. Pretty nice. Nothing special though. Using Claw or Mangle reduces the cooldown of Tiger's Fury by 1.5 seconds. Now, wait, I didn't see this before. I didn't see it before, but now I do. And I have it collected already. Okay, so basically, if you remember this, in theory, if you have a boss that you cannot shred from behind, and you have to mangle instead, this could be a good combo. Fury Unleashed, right? You apply a big rip while Tiger's Fury is active. You apply a big rip, then you mangle a couple times, and by the time your rip finishes, you will have another Tiger's Fury active or available. You still don't use Claw. Never use that ability. You don't have to learn it. Interesting. Razor Sweep. Using Rake causes your next Claw or Mangle to hit additional nearby enemy. When hitting 2 targets with Claw or Mangle, 10 energy is restored. This one is pretty mid. It's straight up pretty mid. Once again, everything that mentions Claw is automatically trash, but this one also mentions Mangle. Reducing, you can think of it as reducing custom Mangle by 10. Right, when you start encounter, you walk up to a boss, you rake his ass, and you mangle right away, and your 10 energy is restored. It's a pretty weak effect. I'll be way more happy if it was like, after mangle, your rake hits 2 targets. That would be way more fun. Because you could multi-dot then, but easier at least. But in this form, I'm not really too happy with this one. Relentless Laceration. Using Lacerate reduces the armor of your target by 2% and increases your chance to critically hit the target with melee attacks by 1% for 15 seconds and stacking up to 5 times. Now, 5 times 2 is 10, 10% ARP, pretty nice for Feral. And 5% crit for having the Lacerate up. Could this be worth comboing with where is it? With this one? Where you just turn into bear, lacerate, right? But then you have to spend Omen of Clarity on Lacerate, or at least on the Mangle. Which you don't really want to do. Ideally you would spend Omen of Clarity on like Maul or something because it hits harder. Turn into a bear, Maul, instantly Lacerate like twice or 3 times, maybe twice, and turn into cat. And then you would have this effect available on the target for 15 seconds. It would sync up pretty well. 18 seconds on the cat damage increase, coupled with this one. The problem is, it's another plate to spin on a Pharaoh, which is a lot. Maybe some god gamer can make it work. Okay, each stack of Pharaoh Frenzy Bleed increases the damage done of your abilities versus target by 2%. And every time you hit with Feral Frenzy, the duration of a Savage Roar is increased by 0 seconds. But that's a faulty tooltip. But in actuality, it makes your Savage Roar full duration, maximum duration. Oh, I didn't mention, you get on Bronzebeard you get Savage Roar at level 54, unlike on Wrath of the Lich King when you get it at like 75, which is massive buff for Pharaoh. So if you use Feral Frenzy here, 25-second cooldown, you make your opener, you rake, you have 1 combo point, you Savage Roar instantly, and then you slam Feral Frenzy, your Savage Roar goes to full, your bleeds from Feral Frenzy are ticking, and you can make a big rip happen right away. No spending. It makes your opener pretty good, pretty powerful. The only thing I don't know, I would have to test this, but it also says that Feral Frenzy Bleed increases the damage done of your abilities versus target by 2%. Does this snapshot rip? Does it make your rip 10% stronger for entire duration, or just the duration of Feral Frenzy Bleeds? I don't know this. I would have to test it myself, but it's definitely one of those enchants you could look at. Surging Eclipse. Dealing damage with Star Surge while no Eclipse is active guarantees that your next Wrath or Star Surge triggers Eclipse. This can only occur once every 30 seconds. Eclipse grants 30% damage and critical strike chance instead of 40. Okay. So this one makes your eclipses happen right away. You don't have to build it. And you can trigger it on demand basically, but it makes your eclipse a little bit weaker. I don't play boomies, I don't know how good that is. But I'm sure somebody will make it work. Probably very good in PvP when you want that burst on demand, right? You want to prepare your burst. And maybe, I don't know. Ambush Predator. Dealing damage with Rake or Rip has a 10% chance, and Shred has 20% chance to grant you Ambush Predator. Your next Ravage can be cast outside of Prowl, has no positional requirement, and costs 20 less energy. So, if you're not aware, Ravage is that ability that you can only cast in stealth, and you have to be behind the target. Normally this would be only used in opener or in if you have access to Shadow Meld or that deranged Druid Lego enchant, but this one allows you to cast it somewhere for 40 energy. Like, look at this energy cost, it's really expensive. So 40 energy, it would make it hit about as hard as Shred, probably harder, way harder actually. It's 385 while Shred is 225. The thing is, Shred has a modifier from bleeding. Ravage doesn't. I think this one got recently buffed as well. A bit. It's just a random proc that you have to monitor. Sometimes you press it and it deals damage. Pretty simple, right? If I'm not mistaken, there is a... No, Ravage doesn't have any talents on the tree. But in Cataclysm, there was a talent for Ravage specifically. Dealing damage with Star Surge reduces the cooldown of your Starfall and Chosen of Elune by 2 seconds and grants Nature's Grace. What is Nature's Grace? I don't remember. Also, if you're playing Ascension... Oh, it gives you chance of spell haste. Okay, for 3 seconds. Okay, very nice, cool. More bursty window. If you're playing Ascension, on this page, you can type here talent name or spell name, and it will show you all relevant spells and talents. So for example, if I type in swipe, it shows me both swipes, cat and bear form. Shows me ferocity talent, which reduces the cost of swipe, and feral instinct, which increases the damage of swipe. If I type in critical, shows me all the crit talents. Pretty neat, huh? Keep that in mind. Star Color Momentum. Casting Wrath or Starfire 3 times in a row causes your next Star Surge to be instant cast. This effect can be stored up to 3 times. In addition, the cooldown of Star Surge is reduced by 2 seconds. Now that's pretty cool. 3 Wraths and then you slam the Star Surge and it goes instantly. You don't have to do that long cast time. Sounds pretty good. Localized Storm. This is funny. And I have a little story about it. So basically, it turns your Hurricane from like a channel spell that you can recast over and over again into a 2-second cast with cooldown. Right? It deals a little bit less damage, but while it's going on, you can do other things. So at first I had an idea that I will leverage my instant cast on Feral from Predatory Strikes to use Localized Storm. And why I would do that? Well, it is 6 ticks of nature damage, and every single tick can grant you another clear casting. Right? So every time I would Ferocious Bite or Rip, spend my combo points, I would get instant cast of this, place it down on the floor, and it does damage, AoE or even on a single target. The problem was, it didn't work with Predatory Strikes. It couldn't use that instant cast thing because it's a custom spell. So I did a bug report, right? And it got fixed. And now you can literally cast it from a cat form instantly and then turn back into cat. Oh, well, you can cast it instantly in cat form, it will turn you into caster form, but you can instantly cast back into a cat, right? So something good to look out for. Blooming Power. Casting Swift Mend grants you Nature's Grace and increases the chance to critically heal with next Regrowth or Nourish by 30%. Well, I'm not sure how that good that is, but it definitely is a nice oh shit button for the healers. Swift Mend is one of those expensive casts, I believe, that consumes your healing over time. But it will make you able to follow up with massive Regrowth or Nourish, like a critical one. Ever Living requires Swift Mend. While Swift Mend is not on cooldown, healing with any direct or periodic spell reduces the cooldown of your next Swift Mend by 1 second. stacking up to 15 times. While your swiftment is not on cooldown. Shouldn't this say off cooldown? I guess it lets you to double tap swiftment. You have your swiftment available, you're doing your spells, right? It charges up to 15, and then you swiftment and can instantly swiftment again. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure, I never tried it. Savage Barricade. Your savage defense can now store up to 2 charges. Well, this is pretty damn good. Especially if you're tanking a big target like a raid boss. Because sometimes as a feral druid you have 2 critical hits in a row and it overrides your savage defense and you end up being without savage defense for next melee swing. But this one should smooth out the damage taken a little bit better. That's at least my theory. If it works this way, I would need to consult somebody that tanks a lot as a bear. One with the forest. Your critical strikes while in bear form extends the duration of barkskin by 1 second, and this can only occur once every second. That's insane. That's insane because since bears have this much crit, you pop your barkskin and you swipe. If you have multiple targets in front of you, you're basically guaranteed to crit something. If you had enough haste, to make your swipes 1 second, which is hard to imagine for a bear, but let's say you have a bloodlust cooldown or whatever, you could theoretically have your barkskin for an insanely long time. This should make bear really tanky. Shifting bark. Oh, I forgot about this one. I forgot about this one when I was talking before about what should you choose. This one is insane. It's absolutely nuts. Bark skin now reduces magic damage taken by 30% and reduces physical damage taken by 10%. So now, instead of being at 20% for everything, it now changes magic damage. It now makes you more tanky against magic damage, but less tanky about fizz. And usually for tanks, the biggest problem is actually magic damage. Either magic or massive bleeds, but massive bleeds are pretty rare in game. The developers learned that lesson later on in game in World of Warcraft, and they started applying those massive bleeds to tanks. But having ability to reduce all magic damage taken by 30% just like that every minute is massive. This is really good. You should definitely keep an eye out if you're a bear tank. Triggering an Eclipse now restores 24% of your missing mana. Well, that's pretty good. I guess it will help the Oomkins to stay less Oom. Oh, also, back to this one. It's not only good on tanks, it's actually good on everyone. Let's say you're in a raid group, right? You're in a raid group and there's massive raid damage coming out. What kind of damage is it gonna be? It's not gonna be fizz. It's gonna be magic. Ragnar is casting a freaking huge firestorm or whatever. It's gonna be magic. And having 30% wall on 1 minute cooldown against magic is insane. It's insanity. This is very good for every druid spec. Defensively, of course. Okay, we spoke about this one. A little bit more mana for chickens. Solar and Lunar Eclipse increases the periodic damage of your Insect Swarm, Moonfire and Sunfire by 30%. Well, if you like rotting people to the floor, I guess you're gonna like this one. The funny part is, it doesn't matter which Eclipse you're in. solar or lunar, it increases all the dots by 30%. It doesn't have to be lunar to make your moonfire better, or solar to make your sunfire better. It's all of them, which is pretty cool. Bash and Trash. Using Bash grants you enrage and empowers Mangle to hit 2 additional nearby targets for 8 seconds. In addition, Bash causes extra threat on the target, scaling with your attack power. This is pretty good. Like we discussed before, having Enrage on your bear is very good, especially compared with this other mystic enchant. And Bash is your 1 minute cooldown stun. I believe with the talent it goes even lower than that. It's here. This is cost 1. I think this goes to level 3 or 2. I think it's 2 max. So it's 30-second cooldown on Bash. So imagine that every 30 seconds you proc Enrage with Bash, right? You just get it for free. It works for 10 seconds. After it's done, you manually press... Sorry, you start with manually pressing Enrage. You walk into the thing, you reduce the cooldown by swiping. Then you Bash, you get another Enrage, right? And the first Enrage should be already off cooldown. Should be really satisfying to play. You're gonna be enraging like crazy. Timber! Increases duration of your treants from Force of Nature by 100%. Well, treants are useful to take aggro sometimes and stuff like that. They're good to recover, like your tank dying or something. You pop your treants, they tank a couple hits and stuff. So having them longer, they also deal some melee damage, I believe, so maybe it's good. Cycles of Growth. Increases periodic healing of Life Bloom by 50%, but reduces the healing of the bloom by 50%. And your regrowth refreshes the duration of the Life Bloom on the target. This does not work if the target is already affected or recently affected by regrowth. Interesting. So this basically rewards you for having Life Bloom hot on the target, right? It makes the pop at the end of Life Bloom worse, but in return you can keep refreshing those Life Bloom stacks with regrowth. The only problem I have with this is the last line. This does not work if the target is affected or recently affected by regrowth. Because recently affected, how long is that time window? Is it 4 seconds like in PoE recent? I don't think so. Hard to say. Somebody would need to test it and report back. Viscera. Your Lacerate, Thrash and auto attacks have a 10% chance of resetting the cooldown of Mangle. This is pretty much burst specific. Pretty self-explanatory. You spam your Lacerates, Thrashes, sometimes auto attacks just give you the proc. Pretty standard on like retail bear Druid. Verdant Insight. Increases healing of Life Bloom by 15%, and periodic healing from Life Bloom has a 4% chance per stack to trigger Omen of Clarity. Now we're talking. This comboed with this, and suddenly rolling that Life Bloom, healing over time, gives you a bunch of Omen of Clarity procs. Think about that. Could be good, could be cool, could be fun. Maybe. Frenzied Growth. Wild Growth healing is increased by 100%, but its duration is reduced by 3 seconds and heals 2 less targets. Well, this makes Wildgrowth heal for a ton, but less targets. So it would mean it hits 3 friendly party array members for twice as much. The funny part about Wildgrowth is the bulk of its healing is dealt first in the first couple ticks. So losing the last couple seconds of it is not the end of the world. And it's also smart heal, which would actually hit those targets that need it the most right away. I think this could be really good for dungeon healing. Like really good. I'm not sure. Because in dungeon, you usually don't have everybody taking damage. You usually have like 1, 2, maybe 3 targets. Only sometimes if it's like a party-wide damage mechanic, like that Cataclysm dungeon where you have to hold the boss in the fire. Interesting. I would consider playing that. And that's it for Epic Enchants. It has been 1 hour and 6 minutes of me rambling. There's a bunch of blue ones. All of the Glyph of Wrath, Glyph of Healing ones, they're basically Wrath of the Lich King glyphs, repurposed for the Bronzebeard. Some of them have tuned numbers. I will quickly mouse over them and only talk about the special ones that have unique effects. But if you're interested in those, you can always preview them at your class vendor. You can buy them from class vendor for Runes of Ascension. This currency. And I will mouse over them so you can pause the video and see for yourself what they do, right? Cool. So, Glyph of Wrath, Glyph of Healing Touch, Glyph of Rejuvenation, Glyph of Moonfire, Glyph of Entangling Roots, Glyph of Maw, Glyph of Regrowth, Glyph of Survival Instincts, Glyph of Rebirth, Rip, Starfire. What else is there? Claw, Shred. This one is pretty good for ferals. Rake, Insect Swarm, Frenzied Regen. This one is very good. Glyph of Mangle, Swiftment, Hurricane, Innervate, Focus, Monsoon, Rapid Rejuvenation, Bark Skin, Starlight Wrath. Okay, now, so here begin the crossover talents, aka those are mystic enchants that grant you effect from your tree. So in case of this one, Omen of Clarity, crossover enchant, crossover talent. If I'm playing a feral druid and I'm here, this is what I would get at level 60. This is the last talent you would get at level 60. And then you cannot invest into side trees anymore. This or this, right? But having this one, you can equip it to one of those blue slots, and that will unlock that talent for me, which is a really powerful feature. Without this, Feral would have no access to Omen of Clarity at all. Right? So it's important to understand that. There's a bunch of those that give different talents. I'm not gonna read all of them. Right? Here begins a different one. Casting Damaging Nature Spell. This is a custom talent. Custom enchant. Casting Damaging Nature Spell has a 15% chance to make your next non-nature spell have no cost. So let's say you cast Wrath, which is a nature spell. There's a small chance, 15% chance to make your next Moonfire or Star Surge costs no mana. Glyph of Lightbloom, Typhoon, Savage Roar, Nourish, Starfall, Berserk, and Wild Growth. Wild Growth, additional target. Now, look, if you combine this, one additional target, with Frenzied Growth, now suddenly your Wild Growth still heals 4 targets, which is really good for a ton of HP. That's the thing you can do in Bronzebeard. It's basically your Wrath of the Lich King glyph system, but way expanded. It lets you do so much more. That's why I love this private server, the idea behind it. I was really skeptical at first, because I thought the Mystic Enchants are gonna be too powerful. It will trivialize the game, but it's absolutely not like that. It lets you have this much freedom around how you want to play your character. So please consider, don't be afraid of experimenting. Try, test stuff out. If you see something working not the way you're expecting, see if it's not bugged, because that can happen. Report the bug if it does, and maybe it gets fixed. I've had it happen twice for me, like I explained here in Localized Storm, right? So, see you Friday. It was very fun talking about Druid. 1 hour 15 minutes almost. 1 hour 11 minutes. I will go and have something to drink because I'm basically dried up already. Talking for this long is quite draining actually. I did not expect that. Anyways, have a nice evening and see you Friday.